Praying that everyone is staying healthy and investing wisely. This is Caitlin, known as the YouTube star Professor Cygnus, and in this episode, I'm going to be speaking about um, the importance of understanding the impact of bullying on how bullying can cause irreversible damages, and in a way, it's not entirely irreversible. And going to be speaking about um, why bullying can cause damages. You know, there's a saying that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me." But the fact of the reality is, thoughts turn into words, words turn into action. So yes, that actually could lead up to something that can get physical. But not only that, and which is why you prevent bullying and you stop that whenever it starts, and prevent that from happening in the first place. But when it comes to um, the understanding of the impact that it can have just by words alone, I mean, you have to understand that words, thoughts and words impact your decisions, right? And not only that, but that can impact your energies as well. And is it just about having confidence? Is it just about having self-esteem? Well, the reality is you can have great self-esteem. You can have wonderful confidence and then continue to be like a glass that if someone just keeps putting more and more to that, it ends up overflowing, right? So even if you do have confidence, it could build up over time, which is what happened to me today. I literally shut down and did not speak the entire day, which is not the normal me. You all know I am very talkative, and it is the end of the day now, and I have felt very shut down and depressed because that is a coping mechanism that I utilize to be able to cope with that glass overflowing event. I'm going to speak about how um, that bullying can cause that damage, and just as some examples. If people had bullied, right, sometimes they're bullying because they're taking their upsettingness on someone else, which is not acceptable. If you have something that you are going through, you need to find ways to express that without hurting others. And there's always coping skills and other ways of expression to where you're not going to hurt anybody else. And um, another thing is, when it comes to bullying, what is an impact that it can cause? And there are certain times to where it can get so severe that someone ends their life because of bullying. Has that happened before? Absolutely. So that means that bullying can lead up to someone literally ending their life. That's when people need to realize that their words can make major impacts. Okay, depression is not a joke. What causes depression? Bullying is a lot of things that cause the depression, but it can also be other things like feeling hopelessness, and um, feeling like the doors of opportunity are closed, and you've tried to reach out to things, and then just continuing to get denied. Like any example, applying for grants, applying for loans, large loans, applying for things, and then constantly getting denied and denied and denied. And after all of those denials, it it adds up, and then you just say, "Do I even matter?" And that is when the depression sometimes kicks in, right? And sometimes literally bullying can actually cause applications to get denied. And there is seen and unseen things. Now, seen turns into unseen at times, like when one person bullies in the seen world, the unseen world sees that and says, well, if that person did it, then, you know, the other people can do it. And then it turns into not only one, but many. And it also can threaten a person's position. It could ruin their reputation, you know, and not only that, but new people that do not even know the individual that is getting bullied, right, is taking the bully's word and thinking that what the bully is saying is accurate, which bullies do not say accurate things. You know, they're not accrediting or accounting for the good sacredness that the individual is, right? And when it comes to why that may impact someone, you know, the overflowing of that building up over time, and also who um, bullies you is also something that may impact as well. An example, if you did not have opportunities like that growing up and you're in poverty, you're having difficulties, you're trying to get out of poverty, and then suddenly this person, right, that has had it good all of their life, you know, is not in poverty, is doing great, and then suddenly has false accusations and bullying to an individual, then so in a person that you felt like cared about you as well, that is when it turns into, you know, you feeling practically threaten your success, because when successful people bully a non-successful person, then that means that they would practically be hindering that individual from succeeding, right? In ways. And not only seen ways, but unseen ways as well. There's a lot of impacts that happen, you know, with people that bully that they do not even realize. And when it comes to people, you know, on the extreme level of things, that, you know, ending their life, I mean, that is when somebody should look at a situation and say, I should think about what I say before I say it, right? With me, I was shut down all day. So then you're asking, well, you're talking now. But why? Why am I talking? Because there's something that helps me to heal and recover, and that is the good people in my life. And I reached out to them. Amy, my good friend, for 13 years. She has watched me go through so many things and watched me go through changes, and I had watched her grow as well over the years. And when she was going through things, and it made me, you know, so sad. And she watched me go through, you know, major, severe changes, severe things that were, you know, normal people never face ever in their life. So, um, you know, the way that she would talk to me was just so therapeutic. You know, she has yoga classes and she helps people with her yoga classes, but she did something for me that I do not know if she did for others, the way that she helped me to get through that, and the way that she supported me. It was just so valuable. And she asked me, she's like, can I send you money? I'm like, no, because there's something more valuable than money would ever be. And that is you just being there for me, because there was a time I was about to end my life. And after I was hit by a car, I lived homeless. And Amy helped me through that. My Aunt Dinah did as well. And they were literally like my only physical motivation around that time. Um, and a part of the motivation. Well, I'm thankful for the inventions, and I'm thankful for the ways of unitingness. I feel like when unitingness comes together, the cargo waves, when you think of that, that definitely is the motivation in ways. But it was not directed specifically to you, right? So it's like, oh well, they could do that without me, right? But when there is intimacy and sisterhood and brotherhood that literally supports you specifically, it it has an emotional feeling, an emotional healing towards those damages, and that's exactly what happened when I spoke to Amy and my aunt Dinah. It's just like I was shut down, and we spoke about the impacts of bullying and how how I posted about that because that could raise awareness that impacted me in ways that shut me down and depressed me, and perhaps that would give the person and the people seen and unseen that have bullied me the understanding of, oh my goodness, this is actually impacting this individual, and they may not have wanted that to impact because usually I do not even show emotion towards things, so they see that there's no impact a lot of the times, and when they see that there's no impact, that's when they think they could just do it and then I would not be affected, right? But this time it did affect me, right? And because of that, that can give the awareness that that does have bigger impact. So instead of taking your own anger and foolishness out on someone else, you need to find better ways to cope. You can write down what you are going through instead of trying to hurt someone, and sometimes people want others to feel the pain that they're feeling, but really you should want others to help you get through the pain that you're going through. It's a part of motivation, it's part of inspiration. You do not want anybody to face the pain that you're going through. And the thing is, when I put food out in the animal sanctuary, in the example, I pay a lot of money to be able to afford the food in the sanctuary that I can barely even afford. But doing that, the reason why is because I went through starvation as a homeless child. And I know what it's like going through that. And I never want any creature, animal or non-animal, to ever go through that, you know? And so instead of conflicting it, I support and I help to make sure that that does not happen to others, right? And that is a part, and the animals, it was actually, the cat came to the sanctuary when I was shut down, and I just looked at that little cat in the sanctuary eating that food, and that brought a sense of happiness to me. But I continued to be very shut down because sometimes it's what can help you open up is the specific things of that emotional healing, right? Towards the certain subject into which that was. And so I would just pray now. And it would be so nice just to get that bullying system and just shut it down sourcefully. That way nobody would ever have issues with that. And there has been some things that have popularized bullying, and it really has caused the death of people. Like that's when it's like, okay, that's when people need to realize that that impacts people, in those ways, and people do not mean to cause harm, and they'll think in their head that they're meaning to hurt people's feelings. They don't see it like it's something big, and then once they physically witness something becoming big, like a person ending their life or something, that's when suddenly they have that feeling of, oh my, wow, did not expect that. But you never want to get it to those levels. That's dangerous. A living life is more than price could ever put, more value than than words could even explain. And what could a person do in the future? What kind of differences could a person make? And what bullies have done to some people is they took all of the things that they could have became, and it's criminal. It's really criminal. Mm-hmm. Those people that have ended their life because of bullying, it's a criminal thing for them to have done that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, they only see things at extreme levels. But you need to see it where it starts, and say that's not acceptable to bully, right? Prevent it from happening in the first place. And if you feel like you want to take out your upsettingness, and do it in healthy ways, right? Find someone to express that to. And perhaps that someone that you express that to could be your friend for a long time. And the example, I've had Amy as my long-lasting friend, not by blood, yet by family love, for 13 years. I mean, that's a long time. And I remember when we first met, and I was going through a lot of things, and that was just before the emo stage. But she actually helped me when I was going through that as well. That was a different situation, though, because that was a big mess. Mm-hmm. But when I met her, she was this beautiful, empowered woman that supported a neighbor that also was there, Natalie, and she told her story, and Amy and her cried together, and was like, we've been best friends, for this time. And the way that they supported each other was so special. The way that they were there for each other was so special. And I looked at that and I'm like, I want that. I want that kind of friendship. That is just so valuable, to have someone to be there. And then sometimes you ask and you're like, oh, well, how could you get a friend? Well, a big part of that is having healthy expressions, right? Expressing yourself in healthy ways to the people that you love and care for. Mm-hmm. Because if you do things in bully ways, guess what? I've had to block so many people from my channel. And they could have stayed, looking at my channel, subscribing to my channel, but instead I had to block them. And if they would have expressed themselves in healthy ways, if they were like, even if it was random, if they were like, hey, I'm going through this is what I'm going through, and I watched your video, and I continue to go through this, and I would have been better feeling them doing that than to have bullied me, and that's just the example. But that did not shut me down entirely, which is why when they bullied me, they seen I was like practically emotionless, and I kept posting, and they were like, oh, I guess it does not have an impact. But it does. That's a part of when the glass is not overflown yet, but it's about to. And the last, bullying things that I got just overflown the glass to where I just practically shut down. And I'm back talking again because I spoke to Amy, because I spoke to my Aunt Dinah, and I actually looked back at the photos of when I was living homeless and I was about to end my life, and how they literally, with the empowerment of their words, had literally saved my life, and action as well. My Aunt Dinah sent packages, and Amy helped me to transition to housing. So that helped me to feel like I have a chance in this world, because I was applying for things. They were constantly denying me while I was homeless. And they could have approved of the application to give me a chance in life, but they would not do that. And that's a part of the reason. And I also was looking for owner's financing around that time. when I was living homeless, and it was scary. It was devastating. It was winter time, so cold nights, out in a tent in the woods, learning how to live without water and electricity. And I did not think it would add up. Like, I was looking for land that was on the grid, meaning had access to water and electricity. And shockingly, the only land that approved of me wasn't off the grid. And I thought, whoa, I learned how to live off the grid years ago when I lived homeless. And I just did not think that would add up, but it did. And I think that it's because the heavens had it together the entire time, right? And when it comes to the understanding of prayer, there is power with prayer as well. When you pray for someone, that can help save their life. And I prayed for, oh my goodness, I have a list of names here. I pray for Mrs. Amy. I pray for Mrs. Pearl Gale. And Pearl Gale has been my friend for 8 years now. I pray for my Aunt Dinah. I pray for my Uncle David. I pray for Ileana Isaiah. I pray for my brother Brandon. I pray for Parker and Lauren. I pray for Pastor John and Mrs. Deborah Ferrone. Praying for and they also was a part into which I helped. And praying for my brother Michael, Shelby, praying for Mrs. Jean, praying for Linda and Michelle. Remember, March 26 miles before, and that was a cycling trip. And for Michelle, she was fighting off cancer, and had seen a photo of her, and she looks healthier now. And I continue to pray that she will heal. I was wanting to put action to that prayer, as much as I could. I know I could not have done like everything in the world, but I wanted to do everything that I could. And I pray that that helped motivate her to get through those times. Especially in those times, motivation is so important. And that was a cycling and march from dusk till dawn. bright during the day, dark at night. And praying for cousin Isaac, Dalton, Michelle, praying for praying for my good neighbors, Mrs. Deborah T, Mrs. Deborah T, Mrs. Deborah L, Mrs. Deborah F. Lots of Deborahs there. Praying for my good neighbors, and prayers for all the good viewers, Jill. And some of you all have your profile name as like Beast World. I'd like you all to put your actual name there. Praying for the soldiers and law enforcement. Pray for the United Ways, Cargo Ways. Praying for all of the commenters and viewers on the channel, into which is good. And when it comes to people that choose bad things, they have potential to do good. People that bully have the potential to use the empowerment of their voice to save lives. And sometimes, a lot of the times when you express in healthy ways, you do not see the impacts, but just know that that is impacting in some way. You could try to imagine and just think about your life in those times that you was going through something difficult, and someone just said something that just awakened you in ways. and then it just changed your entire world. You know, whether it was small or whether it was big. And if you're not thinking of at least one moment in your entire life, you're definitely not accrediting or accounting for what you've went through, because there's always something that motivates, seen or unseen, or if it was even some non-living objects can inspire. You know, like in the example, if I got a new outfit or something, and that could be a sense of motivation to feel like doing something for, or even teeth whitener, doing something for your medical health to improve, changing your diet. But what motivates the diet change? And um, for me, I had a lot of things that motivated my diet change when I first was changing my diet. Now, vegan was there since I was little, um, as far as when I learned that they murder animals, and I was like, oh no, I do not want to eat that. But there was, after the children's academies, I was vegan during the time of being in the children's academies, but after that point, I survived by restaurant foods, which they did not have healthy options, so I felt forced to eat whatever they had. But I went back to vegan after I was hit by a car, and um, then the gluten-free came from learning about my wonderful friend, Mrs. Pearl Gale. She expressed to me, and then later on I had a physical experience that was actually pretty scary because my heart was having difficulties. And once I stopped eating gluten, I stopped having, the difficulties of things that happened. My heart would slow down like super, super, super slow. And then there was a time I literally thought I was going to die when I was homeless because of my heart like slowing down really slow. But ever since I got rid of gluten, I do not have that difficulty anymore. That Mrs. Pearl Gill expressed to me, she said, if only I learned to better diet when I was little, because, she was doing it in her 50s and 60s, and she was like, what she ate when she was little messed up her tummy. And she said, if only I would have learned that earlier. And I thought, that is inspiring, and I ended up getting the gluten-free diet. But then another time, the low sugars, was in the customer service line. This was about 2020, and it was just after I was hit by a car. And I was in the customer service line, and this man in the Air Force was in front of me, and he had a bunch of things in his cart. And I asked him, I asked him something about what was in his cart, and asked him if he knew about other things that are more like healing for your body. And he told me his wife was fighting cancer, and that he honored his wife to get her what she needed. And I was recommending natural healing things, and better dieting, and he told me about his story. It was very shocking, but he said because she had cancer, he could not get anything with sugars. And I was like, what do sugars have to do with cancer? And I'd never heard about that before. He said something, so I did a little bit of research after the conversation and figured out that sugars actually do feed tumors and cancers. So I was like, oh no, I don't want to eat sugars. Next thing you know, I started to have the low sugar diet. And then also later on figured out that sugars can feed other types of contaminants as well. So getting on a better diet was an inspired development. But just that in the example of things that you learn from, it's a part of inspiration, that is part of motivation. And sometimes it's not just someone telling you, it's just them reacting to something. Sometimes people's reactions can actually bring forth, inspiration that you learn from. In the example, a long time ago, I think it was about 2012 or so, or maybe before then, um, Ma, Dinah, and I, and Mrs. G, Mr. Prater, and everyone, my brothers, we went out to a restaurant to eat. And she looks at the dishes of the restaurant, and it was dirty. We did not get to see them often. And Mrs. G and Mr. Prater would visit um, every now and then. So it was like something really special for everyone to get together. And she looks at the fork and she just starts panicking and say like quote unquote panicking. She was calm about it, but it was just that she was like, talking about trying to remember exact words here. She was just talking about how disgusting it was to have a dirty fork. And I was like, as a child, I'd never heard anybody say anything about dirty dishes at restaurants. So when she had reactions to having dirty dishes at the restaurant, I then learned that you need to check the dishes of what the things that you eat when you're at restaurants. Mm. And although she did not tell me directly, hey, check the dishes, make sure that is clean. No, she just had her own indications, reacted on her own, and because she did that, I was impacted by her reaction. Right? So sometimes we learn directly, and sometimes we learn from other things. And other things like reactions, and sometimes it could be just people doing their own thing, and then you just observe, and observant learning is actually really good. But to the topic of ending bullying, and recovering from that emotional damage, and bullying can be other ways of damage as well. Um, and finding motivation and inspiration can help you heal from those damages, whether if it's mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally. And my inspirations come from the people that are good to me, and the people that really care about me, the people who have been here for me for a long time, and it could be 13 years, 8 years, 3 years, 2 years, or even less than 1 year, but always have healthy expressions. And that helped me to actually open up to speak now. And if it was not for talking to them, I would be continued to shut down, not talking. And how did that feel to be shut down all day? It felt terrible. I felt absolutely miserable. And I am a very talkative person. I love to express myself, and I encourage others to express themselves as well. And when it comes to the understanding of the impact of bullying, understand, okay, the impact, and understand what you really want from life, right? You do not want to hurt someone. You want to help people in your own special way. But if you're going through something, right, do not conflict it on others. Do not try to make someone else feel upset like you may be upset. Instead, express yourself. You can make friends when you express yourself. You can have people in your life for many years when you express yourself healthy. So see the difference between healthy communications and unhealthy communications. Feel the different energies and say which one you truly want and desire in your heart. When you see the impact of bullying, number one, you're pushing people away. Number two, you're not getting friends, not real friends. But when you express yourself in healthy ways, you can make a very good friend that can be very supportive to you over the course of many years and even the rest of your life. So always make sure to express yourself in healthy ways, and always look for that inspiration and motivation in life. And praying for everyone's safe travels, wise investments, and praying for bad things to convert to good things. It's time to evolve. It's time to awaken. Always be mindful, okay? And bad things are like caterpillars that need to turn into butterflies. You're not going to evolve until you do good. And sometimes it can be your testimony to have that awakening. Say, oh, well, if you're going through things, well, have your purpose to be a good testimony. It's wonderful to hear good testimonies in life. And also, our purpose is to balance and purify existence, put order, management, and structure to life. And there needs to be more order. The justice system needs to be stronger than ever. And a part of that is healthy communications with everyone. So praying for everyone that you all learned from this episode. You can put in the comments below. Um, if you feel like expressing yourself, express yourself. Tell me about your day. Tell me about what you're going through. And I will gladly respond to that. But just keep everything healthy. Have proper grammar.